As fantastic a CFP as Mel O is, and as wonderful an attorney as I am, please do note that anything said in our show are our opinions alone and are not meant to be taken as financial or legal advice.
Welcome to Finances, the Other F Word, a Gen Xer podcast for musicians and music lovers, where we discuss money and music without all the pretentious bullshit. Here are your hosts, Zoe Terry, attorney at large, and Mel O, certified financial planner and author of Finances, the Other F Word. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, welcome to Finances Other F Word. And I got to tell you, sometimes I worry about, since this whole COVID thing started, about the audio experience for our listeners, because like we giggle a lot. We talk over the intro. Just now I was shaking my booty amply for Zoe during the introduction. And when I sat back down, I smacked my face on the microphone. So that was real nice.
Yeah, classy moment.
Yeah. And so I wonder sometimes if people like, they need to get their fucking professional shit together. But we are in the midst of fucking COVID still. And actually, that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're recording this. It fucking feels like midnight for me, but it's 6 o'clock at night on the Thanksgiving Eve. So by the time you guys will be enjoying this episode, Thanksgiving will be over, but you'll probably still be eating turkey. We, as always, are having a libation for Thanksgiving.
Cheers.
Chink, chink. So she's having another cider. And
it's a Magners. Today we're having an original Magners Irish cider from the juice of 17 apple varieties.
Oh.
With a little bit of, let's see what percentage it is. Not much, just 4.5. Yeah, see, that's nothing. But this is just my base, it's my base for tomorrow.
Oh yeah, because when we get done here, Zoe has to start prepping for a massive Thanksgiving dinner. And
under 10 though, under 10.
Under 10, yeah. So yeah, let's get to that. But so before we tell you what this episode is going to be about today, we are still Stormy, who is still severely under the weather, and we are hoping him a swift recovery. It's actually running through his family right now, so he is still kind of down for the count. So hopefully he will be back with us with dick jokes soon. Dick and dad jokes, dick balls and dad jokes. Dick balls and dad jokes. Yeah.
Mostly balls, but yeah. Get well soon, Stormy.
Yeah. Can you imagine what Stormy's balls look like?
I don't want to. I really don't. I try very hard when he talks about his balls and cleaning them and grooming them, not to think of them. So,
So something to be thankful for, I guess, that Stormy has healthy balls. So before we get into today's episode, I don't know why we always start off talking about really gross crap. It's probably a me thing. We have to welcome a new country.
We do. Welcome Taiwan.
Taiwan. Yay. Woo.
Yay. Welcome.
Welcome to Finances, the Other F Word. We will chink chink take a little drink for you.
Yep. Cheers.
Good stuff. Okay. So we are doing this episode. We're going to have a couple more heavier research episodes for you guys coming up. We're going to be covering Bitcoin, and that's going to be a very heavy researched episode because, quite frankly, I have a bias against Bitcoin, and I'm hoping to prove myself wrong and that I just maybe I don't understand it as good as I should. But that's going to take some heavy research, and quite frankly, I'm going to have to gear up for that. And like I said, this is pre-Thanksgiving, but Nevada, as I'm sure most of the United States, has just fallen under new restrictions. In the last episode, Zoe was talking, not the last episode, because what episode was that, Zoe, the last one?
It's Brittany, bitch. Oh my God, I almost forgot. Hang on. Can I do that? Redo that, please.
Yes, do it again.
Say, ask me again.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me see where I started. Yeah, so this episode, I don't even know how I keyed it up now. Hold on, wait, let me do it. So I'm sorry, Zoe. What was the last episode called?
It's Brittany, bitch.
There you go. So in the episode before that, she had talked about like bonfire night or something for the UK had been canceled because they had new lockdown restrictions. And Sisolak just came out this past Sunday or Saturday.
Oh God, every day. I don't even know what day it is half the time anymore, but they went into effect on Tuesday at midnight. So.
Yeah. So Tuesday at midnight, and we're going to go over the regulations. But first, and if you guys know, in our episode of the economy versus human life, Zoe and I have very differing opinions on the whole COVID thing, and I think we still do. But we have new regulations that came down, and so we're just going to talk about those. And a lot of the people who are listening us, at least in the U.S., are probably under similar restrictions. But first, Zoe is going to review some of the numbers for us. So, Zoe,
take it away. Oh, how did I know you were going to say that? You said it's sexier. I should have shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's usually the way it is.
So, Nevada is currently on a bit of a lot of a spike right now. And yesterday was the second consecutive day of record-breaking cases and hospitalizations. We had 3,159 new cases yesterday and 1,414 hospitalizations. It was the fifth day in a row of more than 2,000 COVID cases, but it was the first time that there's more than 3,000. Second day in a row that there's 24 deaths in a row in Nevada. At the moment, we stand at just over 142,000 cases in Nevada, with the majority of those are in Clark County, which, for those people who aren't in Nevada, that's where Las Vegas is in Clark County. Our positivity rate has shot up. It's now at 16.5%. And it's the sixth week in a row that Clark County has been flagged for elevated disease transmission. So our numbers are just, going up and up. So that's the reason for our current situation. I'll chime in when Mel talks about them. We started off with our stay home for Nevada. Then it was, and that started, geez, you can ask Lily Lou, because if you look at Lily Lou's diary, she started it as when that started, and yesterday was 251 days.
And that's Lily Lou Mittens on Instagram.
That's her, at Lily Lou Mittens. So 251 days ago is, that's crazy, isn't it? 251 days.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was the stay home for Nevada. And I'm sure Mel will talk about that. Within that, we had our actual lockdown for a period of time in April. And then we had this silly stay at home 2.0, which was where Sisolak just said, would you mind very much if for a couple of weeks you all just stayed home? And now we've gone on to pause for 3 weeks, where he's getting a little bit more, you didn't really stay at home, so I'm going to ask you a little bit stronger now. Would you, for 3 weeks, we're going to be a little bit more stern with you, which I'm sure Mel's going to tell you more about. But at this rate, we're going to go back on a lockdown, because telling people, would you mind very much, really, would you mind staying at home, it doesn't fucking work, because everyone just goes, fuck off. I might wear my mask, or I might not, but I'm certainly not going to stay at home if you're just going to ask me and call it a stay at home 2.0 or a pause, or whatever you want to call it. You can tell by all the people, all the warnings about not, this is me getting on my soapbox anyway, all the warnings about people not traveling for Thanksgiving. Everyone's gone, well, fuck you that, I'm going to go do what I want. And the result is going to be massive spikes all around the country. And, back in England, as I said on the other, one of our other podcasts, they're on another lockdown right now, until December 2nd, I think, right now. So it will be a month, they're going to they're on a month lockdown. And that's I believe is going to be coming for us soon, unless people, take his, do you mind just for 3 weeks, trying a little bit harder. So, but anyway, that's our stats. That's our stats for Nevada right now. We're just going up and up, and don't see it going to changing in any way with Thanksgiving being tomorrow. So,
but are you sure the numbers are right? Because I remember in countless posts and memes on Facebook that they said that this disease would disappear after the election. And the election,
yeah,
it was November 3rd. And then Saturday following that Tuesday, it was called for Biden, and the numbers are still there. Are you sure? Are you sure it's really happening?
Well, having had one of Todd's friends sadly pass away last week of it, it's very real, unfortunately. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, so the political stuff looks like it's finally winding down, which is nice. And at least that part's kind of good that we don't have to worry about that in 2020 at least. So as we've talked about, and now my thing just reset itself. Hold on. The Nevada has fallen under new regulations, and my fucking website just disappeared.
It's because you dared to say that, it was real and not a hoax.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I know it's real, but I think a lot of these restrictions are bullshit. So let's go through them, and you guys can compare notes with the states that you're in as Zoe and I talk about them. If this motherfucking website does not stop being a cockbag, you know what? Fuck you, website. I'm going to find a different website now because I don't got time for you, listeners.
Right. You tell it.
Yeah, exactly, man. They don't fucking know who I am.
She's the hot dog lady.
Right. Oh, it's going to be so good. So Sisolak put in some new restrictions that took effect on Tuesday. And so, of course, this week with it being Thanksgiving, there's a couple of things that we're going to talk about. So since Zoe went over the numbers, let's talk about the new regulations that are put in place with Sisolak, and then you guys can compare that to your state and see how you feel, and then feel free to give us feedback. Just so you guys know, my email is down. So for listeners, if you're emailing me, I will get to them as soon as I can. But please continue to send them, if you have feedback for us or whatever. So, according to Sisolak, that took into effect Tuesday, private social gatherings shall be limited to 10 people or less, and then no more than 2 different households, whether held indoors or outdoors. And I think that's bullshit. I'm sure Zoe is going to have a counterpart. You're okay with that? I guess the thing is that, it's the holiday season coming up, and 2020's been a bad year, and people need each other. And so that.
Yeah, no, I don't agree. I just think everyone should fucking get over themselves and just push. I mean, just push on through. It's 1 year. You are going to see a spike everywhere after tomorrow because because a lot of people can't just fucking stay home for a few, I get it. And Todd did say to me, I mean, I don't understand. I'm English, right? So Thanksgiving, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So I try and think of it like we don't have an equivalent either, obviously. So I'll look at it as Christmas or this whole fucking year. I haven't seen my family. And I'm not going to see my family up. So I'll take Christmas as an example. I would be willing to see no one outside of my nuclear family this Christmas. And maybe it is easy for me to say because I live with my husband and my 2 children. So I will still have them. Maybe, if I lived alone and I couldn't see anyone else, it would be different, but I don't think it would. But still, I just think people need to think beyond themselves for a little while, and the end, especially now when the vaccinations are the end is in sight, and just fucking get over themselves for a little while.
So I'll comment on that in a minute. So let's kind of move through these. Public and social gatherings shall be limited to no more than 50 people or 25% of the fire code capacity, whichever is less, provided that if the fire code capacity is less than 200 people, but at least 50 people, the gathering may still be held with up to 50 people if able to be conducted in a manner consistent with required social distancing. This is a pain in the ass, but I don't mind this as much. I think that It's absolutely ridiculous that you keep cutting down the amount of people who can go to a fucking restaurant when everything's cleaned more than it's ever been cleaned before, and everybody already has to fucking wear masks, and they've already streamlined their cleaning process to stay open, and the going back and forth and not fucking figuring out what you want to do. Either fucking stick with a path and fucking stay on it and stop doing this zigzagging shit. It's bad for fucking business and it's hurting the people. And I'm glad they didn't shut the restaurants as of yet, but I think it's a bunch of shit. But then what they say: gyms, fitness studios, dance studios, martial arts studios, and similar establishments shall be limited to 25% occupancy based on the fire code. Social distancing must be maintained. Face coverings must be worn at all time, regardless of physical activity. And locker rooms and showers and other communal facilities must remain closed to the public, with the exception of pools and childcare facilities that comply with those directives. I don't know how, if anybody can exercise with a mask on, more power to you. I don't even know how that's fucking possible. I mean, I think I would just stay home and exercise by myself. You know what I mean? Like, why would you? That sounds awesome. Arcades, racetracks, bowling alleys, mini golfs, amusement parks and theme parks, museums, libraries, art galleries, aquariums, zoos, and similar activities shall be limited to 25% occupancy as applicable to the fire code. So everything's going down to 25%. I know that Colorado just did something similar to this. Retail stores shall be limited to 50% occupancy based on the fire code, and retail and grocery stores with over 50,000 square feet capacity must have persons at all public entrances counting the number of patrons in and out in order to make sure that they are managing the capacity in it. I mean, obviously you can't close a grocery store. And maybe by doing this, you're going to, spur any panic buying that we saw at the beginning of this pandemic. But at the same time, I'm like, this is a fucking grocery store. People need to get in and out. In the addition, the restrictions applicable to public social gatherings, live entertainment venues must ensure all attendees are seated, and the venue must maintain at least 25 feet space between the artist and the audience. I don't think we have to worry about that any time coming. And then all business venues are subject to capacity limitations, must post signs of public interest at identifying their COVID-19 adjusted capacity based on the limits of the directive. Now, the one thing that I saw, and I saw it on one article and I'm trying to confer it right now, is that they said that if you have a private gathering in your home where you're mixing families, then you have to wear masks the entire time, whether you're inside the house or outside the house. I think that's the biggest load of bullshit I've ever heard in my life. If you're that fucking concerned about catching COVID, you probably should not be intermingling in the first place, but you're not going to come into my fucking house and tell me what to do in my house. If I want to fucking be walking around naked and you come to my house and I'm naked, you can leave. I think that's fucking drawing the line, and I'm still trying to get confirmation on that. I mean, so what do you think about something like that, Zoe?
So what are they saying? If you have people, I honestly didn't read that bit. If you have people come over that are not within your family,
yeah, that they want you to be wearing like masks. So basically, if you're inside the house, like let's say I don't have a family, but let's say you and my family got together, then since we are mixing two households, that they would want you to be having masks on inside and outside of, and I just think that's ridiculous.
Well, see, it's easy for me, because I would not mix with your family right now, because I wouldn't. Right. Now, I have, for example, for some essential, as what I deem to be essential things, I have gone over to other people's houses and for brief periods of time. And personally, I do wear a mask in that house the whole time, because I'm not there for very long anyway. And the only reason I'm there is for personal, essential reasons. But so I don't have a problem with it. I don't want to be in someone else's house unless I'm wearing a mask anyway. And I don't have a problem with that, because you shouldn't be fucking mixing anyway. I don't get what the big deal is.
I think, and if the thing that I read, and it might be just some, far out stuff with the concern that they're saying, that people had been saying that they're going to have you wear masks in your house, that you need to wear masks. I have a problem with, like, you as my friend. If I say, hey, Zoe, I really want you to come over for Thanksgiving, and you have every right to say, hey, Mel, I really don't want to take the chance and mix right now. I'm like, okay, cool. But for somebody in government to decide who is going to come to your house, and I mean, how is that not trampling on your rights as a person, where I have a large family? Okay, so for instance, Olivia and Stephanie just had a baby. And I asked her, hey, what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving? She's like, well, everybody wants to get together, and they're Latina, so they have huge families. And she's like, but, we're not going to do it because they have a newborn baby. And she's like, so we're just going to stay home and do something ourselves. I'm like, yeah, that's probably a very smart idea.
Right.
But that's a choice that she got to make. Now, if Sisalat came in and said, hey, everybody who has a child under 2, you can't see your family on whatever celebratory whatever it was, I think that is a massive infringement of your rights. And probably from somebody from the UK, it does seem ridiculous, because you're like, hey, why is that a big deal? It's temporary. And Olivia's from Cuba, and she says the same thing. She's like, I don't understand why you Americans are so pissed off about it. She's like, so what? It's a minor inconvenience. You don't see people and stuff like that. But having somebody tell you what you can't do in your house and who you can't come over, bitch, you don't pay the mortgage on this motherfucker. I do. And that's the whole problem, and what I'm afraid of, because they knew this was going to spike in the winter. They knew it. They've been fucking talking about it all year. So they could have put things in place to help curve this, but what they're doing is they're loosening them, then they're tightening them, then they're loosening, they're tightening them, and they are breaking up the economics of the people who are trying to pay their fucking bills.
But this has nothing to do with the economics. You're talking. I mean, that's a separate issue. I'm sure we'll talk about. But you're talking about stepping on your civil liberties and saying who can and can't come in your house. This is a public health crisis. People clearly can't make the right decision by themselves, because during the stay at home 2.0, that didn't work. Because if you say, would you mind very much staying at home for 2 weeks, people go, yeah, we do mind, fuck off. And they carry on doing their stupid, selfish.
But I stayed home. Yeah. I mean, I stayed home because I realized that, okay, if this is keeping everything open and allowing people to work, then yeah, you know what, I don't have to go a lot of places. I'm not going to go eat. I'm just going to go to the grocery store, and and obviously I work from home, so it's very easy for me.
We're in the minority, Mel.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, there's more people working from home, but yeah, as far as that thing,
as far as going out and socializing, I'm still getting invited to parties, to go out, stuff. It blows my fucking mind. Say what? Are we in the middle of a pandemic? I mean, it blows my mind. And no, I might not understand the tradition and the feelings behind Thanksgiving, but I fucking get the general feeling, like using Christmas as an example, and not having been able to travel to England this year and have my family travel here. All of our plans got cancelled. It is what it is. A lot of people seem to have a very selfish attitude, and they don't get that it's for the greater good, and they won't put other people first and just suck it up for just a little while. And that's why he's saying, if you go to someone else's house, then you should wear a mask. They're not going to enforce it. They're not going to come around and start policing people and pulling people out.
If you're eating, you have to take the mask off anyway. So
he says that, for people in restaurants and wherever, you have to wear the mask unless you're eating. Of course, you have to take it off when you're eating. But the point is, while you're eating, you're not speaking, so you're not spitting out. You're not spreading the chances of you spreading the virus to each other. I just think it's really simple. If you're not willing to follow the recommendations, which people generally don't seem to be, that's fine. We'll just go on a lockdown in 3 weeks. Forget the fucking pause. In 3 weeks, we'll end up in a lockdown, and you can all bitch and moan all you like, but we'll all be stuck at home. So.
I think we're going to go into a lockdown regardless of doing anything. I think the reason why Sisolak did this, and just for you guys to understand, this podcast is left leaning, but Sisolak is a Democrat. And I think
who has COVID right now?
Who? Yeah, that's right. He did test positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
but he seems. I mean, he doesn't seem to be really getting fucked up by it. You know,
no, I think he has some minor.
Just like little stuff. Yeah. So the thing is that I think the only reason why he's like, hey, I encourage you guys to stay home is because he is worried about reelection, as all politicians are. And the thing is, if he just says like, you guys are fucking up, and now we're going to go on another lockdown. But the at least in the city of Las Vegas, we're in such a precarious economic situation. We have the moratoriums being lifted on January 1st for rent and mortgages, with absolutely no plan of how we're going to mediate that. We have unemployment still very high in the city. We have half of the casinos on the strip that are still not opened. We have only the top echelon of people who have priority tenure that has been in the casinos working the longest, because they're ran by the union and it goes by seniority. And so only the very top, 1 or 2%. Now you're going to limit the access to public gatherings again, which means even less people are going to be to work. And, with the push and pull that's been going on between the changeover of the administration, the thing is that, I would welcome them to say, hey, everybody needs to wear masks, federal mandate. Okay. If you are out around anybody besides your immediate family in public, wear a fucking mask, period, or we'll ticket you, or we'll fine you, or we'll, something like that. But continuing to open and close and putting the policies of all of these mom and pop places and these other restaurants or these other business establishments on hot and cold, it's fucking awful. The first time we locked down, they said you can't be at the bar. And so because in Vegas, for those of you guys who haven't been here, you can literally gamble anywhere. You can gamble in the grocery store, you can gamble at the gas station, you can gamble at the fucking airport. And so the thing is that they used to have games around the bar. And then they said, nobody can sit at the bar. You can have a restaurant, but nobody can sit at the bar. So then what they did was they pulled the fucking games out of the bar, and then they made these little cubicles that were like cookie cutter, like a four square, and then with plexiglass. And then everybody sat not at the bar, but literally at just like a little gaming cube. And then they gamed. And then literally like a week later, they're like, okay, no, the game having it as people sit at the bar is fine, but they have to be separated. So then they fucking moved the games back to the bar. And then they had to put in plexiglass between every single machine. So now you can sit and gamble at the bar, but there's plexiglass between it. That shit costs money. It costs money. There's only so much capital you can have on reserves. But how the fuck do you budget? How the fuck do you plan for that? How do you be in a situation where you can try to keep your business afloat and maintain employment? That's what I have a problem with. I have a problem with the ever-changing whim of somebody who, and I get it, he's trying to figure it out. And it's new, right? So it's not like he's not fucking, he's not a god. He doesn't know what's going to happen. So he's doing the best he can. And I do believe that. I do believe he's doing the best he can. But that's what I have a continued problem with. It's like, fucking do it or don't. But if you're going to put us back on lockdown, you got to help these people who are unemployed. Zoe and I have professional jobs that we can continue working through the whole pandemic. So it has not affected us on an economic level at all. Well, not at all, but it hasn't affected us on the way other people have been hurt. But that's what my major problem is with it. And when you start going into people's homes and telling them what they can and cannot do, that's when I have a real problem. And you're right.
I just don't, because it's a public health crisis. It's a global pandemic. Somebody has to take fucking control and say, this is what you need to do. And we've seen the mess that has happened in this country when someone doesn't do that. So, someone needs to say, hey, I'm sorry, but right now, and now there is, like I said, some kind of light at the end of the tunnel, but they're not saying, they're just, someone does, because clearly we're all not able to do it off our own backs.
how do you take control of a global pandemic as one country? I mean, like, so.
Oh, well, I'm not saying that America needs to take control of the world. America needs to take control of America.
Yeah, but I mean, how would it matter? Because unless you lock down all travel to all countries until everybody gets it done, I mean, people are still gonna travel unless you literally block. That's what I'm saying. So how can America taking control of its states and getting it under control?
Well,
really help?
we're doing fairly badly in
Oh yeah, we're doing
list
shit. Clearly, we're doing shit.
So maybe we should take a look at some of the countries who aren't doing quite as bad as us, and they're being fairly strict on people and telling them what they can and can't do. So
Yeah,
like it or lump it.
I think we could learn from other countries that have gotten it under control. And I am ignorant as far as on the links that some of them have went to. I am just massively concerned about the economic impact that this whole thing is having, and the fact that it's just a constant up and down. You can't run a budget like that. And
And the economic side of things, I completely defer to you. I'm talking about the whole don't tell me what to do in my house and civil liberties bullshit. I will tell you what to do if you can't do it for yourself, if you can't fucking not travel to go and see fucking grandma for Thanksgiving just because you want to in the middle of a pandemic, then I will tell you. And if you can't, like, not this, it's crazy to me. There's
I know,
so many selfish people,
and it's crazy to me that they would think that it was okay for them to tell you what to do in your own house. But I mean, you're right. I mean, it is a public health crisis. And, but even if everybody fucking got tested, okay, and then came into your house, somebody could still have it. So where does it, there's the fucking lines are so blurry. It doesn't matter how, how specific and I have, an associate I was telling you about who, her brother, older gentleman, very healthy, for an older gentleman, was diagnosed with COVID at the beginning of November and was passed away by the middle of November. And she was very much in denial about the numbers. We had spoken in October, and she thought they were a bunch of bullshit. And she thought that they were made up. And she thought that it was all, make believe, and, had referred to the coronavirus as, with some racial slurs. And the reason why I don't like the racial slurs is because then you make it sound like it's their problem. And I know where it generated from. I understand that that they believe that it came from China. I get that part. But calling it the Kung Flu or the Wuhan or any of this stuff, there's no good to be had out of that, because all you're doing is separating them between us and them. And we know people who have podcasts who do that. And my thing is that it's not us and them anymore. It's a global thing. Mm-hmm. So we're not ever all going to be able to get on the same global page. So what ended up happening was that, he passed away. And I have a friend who does medical transcription. And she said almost every one of her cases is COVID related. And I have not lost anybody to COVID. And that's probably the reason why I have such a staunch belief that, they shouldn't be able to tell you what goes on in your home. But even after her brother has passed away, I do not think she has changed her attitude towards coronavirus. And I still think she very much thinks it's a, China against the US or China against the world or whatever. And then of course you have all the crazy conspiracy theories that come up around that. But I don't know. I just draw a line when it comes into my house.
Then it's simple. You just don't let people in your house.
Well, or people don't come over. But that's their choice, right? I mean, like I said, like if I invite you and you're like, fuck, Mel, I don't want to, I'm like, cool, I understand. Then you don't come to my house.
If I did have to come over because you needed something urgently or you needed me, I would have a mask. But that's your choice. I don't need, It's not my choice. I'm not doing it out of choice. I'm doing it to protect me and to protect you.
That as your choice. You don't have to wear a mask in my house. That's what I'm saying.
But you should.
No, I mean, but
You
that's your
should.
choice. If you come over,
It's not a choice, though. It shouldn't be a choice. It should be mandatory, because if people can choose either way, then that's how it continues to go.
see,
So,
and no, because I still wear masks out in public and I keep my distance and I do the, fucking hand sanitizer every 3 seconds.
and
And
with respect, right?
yeah, from a
So,
party, but it's still like I said, I mean, for the people who are not comfortable with it, they can stay home and not be in personal settings with people.
but it's not about whether you're comfortable with it or not. It's not about a choice. None of us have a choice. It's not like, oh, I don't feel comfortable about it, so I'm not going to go out and not have a mask. And someone else going, I do feel comfortable with it. I think I'm going to be fine. So I'm going to go to my neighbor's house and not wear a mask. Well, COVID doesn't pick and choose about who feels comfortable and who doesn't. So it's not, you don't get the right to choose in the middle of a pandemic, and a global pandemic where we're all at risk now because of you saying that it's a choice. You don't have a fucking choice, in my opinion.
But it's just like, so, okay, PS5s are the new hot thing right now. And everybody's doing this bullshit, crazy distribution where you can only buy the PS5 online because that, like, Walmart is saying that they don't want a lot of people coming in their store. So they're trying to help on the pandemic. So they were selling PS5s only online, and they were doing it at, like, Eastern time, like, 6, 9, 12, 3, and 6 or something like that. And everybody's been trying to get them. Well, what's been happening and what the concern is, which we see with concert tickets all the time, is that there's these robots going in and they're buying up all the PS5s as soon as they come out. And so then it just says out of stock and, we'll restock in a couple hours. And now what you're starting to see them is you're starting to see them on the second market, where you're starting to see that people are selling them. I think they retail at like $4.99. People are selling them for $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. And if the PS5 limitation, think Cabbage Patch for my 80s kids. If the limitations continue to be there, then there might be some people out there that are stupid enough to spend, triple the price for an asset. If people refuse to do that, there wouldn't be a market. So if the people who didn't want to come over to somebody's house refuse to do it, there you go.
But it's not the same, because those people that don't refuse and do come over and don't wear a mask can come and fucking infect me while I'm going to do something that I have to do. I have to go and pick up a prescription, and the fucking drive-through window is broken again at my CVS, and so I have to go in, and or whatever. It has more lethal and far-reaching consequences for everyone to have a decision, to have a choice, than a black market PlayStation 5 and things like that. I just think that's why you can't let people make a choice. This isn't something that you have a choice about, is because it doesn't just affect you. Because if you're going to go do what you want and then stay in your house, because you don't, it's your decisions don't just affect you, they affect everyone else that you come in contact with who doesn't make the same decisions as you and doesn't want to make the same decisions as you. So I just don't agree. And that's what's wonderful, is that we can completely disagree and adore each other.
Oh, absolutely. And, we decided to talk about this on episode again, because their very first go round of COVID, which again, didn't have Stormy on it, was the economy versus human life. And this is when we first went into lockdown. And
oh my God, how long ago was that? That was in March, right?
250 something days.
Days ago, yeah.
And we had a lot of fans reach out. Some of them were people that I knew. They're like, hey, by the way, I agree with Zoe. And I'm like, hey, that's fine. But it continues to be one of our most downloaded episodes, and we wanted to revisit it. And my thing is that where does it end? And yes, there's a vaccine coming, but even if they push it through FDA regulations and they get it dispersed. Right now, it's like, I think you need to have 2 different doses. How much is it going to cost? What about the people that don't have health insurance? How much is it going to, if you're not working and the vaccine is out there, but it costs a whole fuck ton of money, the employers are probably not going to pay for it for you to get the vaccine so you can come back to work, especially if there's not enough people that have the vaccine so that they can return to, like in this instance, let's say the casinos. And so even though everybody's like the vaccine's so close, it's not so close.
I'm relatively close. I mean, believe it. You and I are fucking bottom of the list of getting it for a start. So we're, if we're talking like 6 months till, I mean, we're very, very bottom of the list of getting it. So it's going to be a long fucking time before we do. My understanding is that the plan is that there will be no cost to everyone getting it.
Yeah. Well, and
that would be the only fair.
Yeah. And I hope for the sake of when Biden gets in, and even if Trump had taken this stance from a federal standpoint where he would have said, hey, everybody needs to wear a mask and these are the parameters and we're locking everybody down, everybody in the United States for 3 weeks, and we're going to give you a little bit of money to help you get through it, I would have had respect for him in that aspect. Mm-hmm. I would have had respect for him. And so I'm anticipating when Biden gets in that we will have some type of federal regulation that will come through, that he will hopefully have the backing of Congress to be able to put us on, if we're going to go on a lockdown, put us on a lockdown, but help people out financially. And like I said, Zoe and I and a couple people we know, we're not going to necessarily be affected by that directly. But I would be super open to that. But the going back and forth is disrupting business. And when you disrupt business, you disrupt people's lives. Mm-hmm. And this is a huge deal. And so I am all for a federal regulation that comes through on a limited time basis to kibosh this more than this going back and forth shit. And so maybe with the new administration coming in and working with the doctors and the scientists, instead of just trying to convince everybody that it's going to go away, maybe we'll have something new that'll come out. And that's not, I mean, I'm not slamming Trump. That's what he's been saying this whole time, is that it's going to go away. It's going to go away. And, everybody was saying that after the election, it was going to go away, which everybody who had a brain knew that was going to be false, because it's a disease. It's like saying AIDS is going to go away after the election. Like, nope, AIDS is a form of life. And when we came up in the 80s and the AIDS epidemic hit, we thought for sure we'd all get AIDS. We just assumed that everybody would get AIDS.
God, yeah. That was your biggest fear, and you're a hot, sexy, teenager, was shit.
Right. I mean,
now,
it was literally like the coronavirus, as freaky as this is nothing compared to the AIDS epidemic. That was fucking terrifying. And I was in 6th and 7th grade when it really got started. And I was terrified that I'd get it somehow, that I would kiss a boy and somehow he would have gotten AIDS from his mother. Of course, he would have been like 15 at the time. So I don't know how that would have happened, but you were just on such high alert that I literally was like, okay, everybody I know is going to get AIDS and die. Like, that's just how it's going to be. And, we did come out of that. And I guess the positive outlook spin that we can put on this episode is that when we were in the middle of 2008, for an advisor and for people invested in the market, that was like the darkest time that they could remember. And we couldn't ever think that there was going to be a way out of it. And even when the market bottomed March of 2009, people were still terrified and didn't think we could ever crawl out of it. And we did. And so we'll crawl out of this too, is what I'm saying. I just don't know how the path is going to look.
Do you know who you need to listen to, though?
Who?
The genuine Fox, Dr. Fauci. Ooh.
Yes.
He's got the answers.
Yeah. So I have a client who is a retired RN who worked with Fauci during the AIDS epidemic. And when she told me that, I was like, oh my God, Zoe somewhere just busted one. when she heard that. But to her credit, she's obviously very smart. You're not an RN if you're not smart. And she said that he's good at what he does. Like he's one of he's like one of the smartest people with infectious disease. So, I don't know how this episode is going to be taken, and I don't know if we'll end up turning it into a bonus episode or what, but we'll have to hear it on the playback. But I just wanted to kind of revisit this again, especially on the eve of going into the holiday season. We have Hanukkah, we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas. And, maybe it is just, something where everybody just misses their family for this year. And then in the hopes that by the time summer rolls around next year, we have a widespread vaccine and people can get back to normal. Because I miss hugging you, Zoe.
I know you do. Who wouldn't?
Yeah, with your big old fucking titties all up on my chest. Yeah, and if you guys know me, I'm not a hugger. I do that side shoulder bro hug.
And so, I'm grateful, if we're going to talk about what we're grateful for, that this enforced separation has made you want to be close to me.
Well, how do you argue with that at all?
Exactly.
But anyway, everybody out there, send Stormy good vibes and prayers. Yes. Or if you're not prayers if you're Zoe, but
no, I'll send him. I'll send him good vibrations. Isn't that
like the Beach Boys?
Yeah, oh God, I don't like the Beach Boys though. Well, that's fine. He can have some good vibrations, as soon as I don't want them.
So send Stormy prayers from me and good vibrations like the Beach Boys from Zoe. And if you want to give a call to wish Stormy well, you can always call and leave a message at 775-537-4352. Follow Lily Lou Mittens on Instagram. Follow us on social media at Finance is Other F Word. Pick up our book, Finance is Other F Word, Another F Word to Love. And by the time I guess I would tell you Happy Thanksgiving, but by the time this is aired, everybody will always
we'll all be roned up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's not funny, but
she laughed.
But I did.
But she laughed.
Yeah.
So we'll revisit this and we'll see. But anyways, happy after I don't know. How do you, I can't.
Happy post Thanksgiving.
Have a happy post turkey sandwich Thanksgiving. And
happy putting your tree up, which is what I'm going to be doing on Friday, which Mel has already done, which has spurred me on to get my pink beast out.
Even though she constantly is posting memes to spite me about people listening to Christmas music already, which again, August, so I don't give a fuck. But as always, and like I said, if you guys want to reach out and give Stormy any kind of well wishes, I'm sure he would greatly appreciate it. There's a couple ways to reach us. You can also instant message us on Instagram if you have any words for Stormy. And other than that, we will let you guys go, and we'll be back next week with a further in-depth researched episode. Right. Okay. My mouth is full of saliva. Right. My mouth is full of saliva. I can't talk. All right. We'll talk at you later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Please check back for upcoming episodes and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Finances, the Other F Word.